Hey friends, it's your boy BigTCGFan coming at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing a video in our Decklist series. And the deck I'm going to show you is my competitive, or theoretically competitive, Force of Will New Frontiers deck. And the ruler that I have chosen, I mean this should be kind of obvious to everyone who watches the videos. Where's she hiding at? She's hiding on me. It's Valentina. So let's go ahead and go through the deck. I'm sure she'll pop up at some point, and then we'll go over her. All right, so my strategy with this deck is a simple control deck, where then I have some big beaters finish you off. So to start, we have 4 copies of her Regalia Lover's Lock. And this card is pretty sweet because it's a mana, and you quick cast it. So the goal with Valentina is to be able to control, so most other rulers, you have to put the Regalia out as soon as possible, but her I can wait till they put a creature out and then flash this in response and trigger Valentina's ability to bounce the creature back into their hand and draw cards out of my Stranger deck. So we got 4 of those. So we'll go over the main deck. Then an important thing in order to control is to have the advantage of mana. The bulk of my control is through chance or mage arts. So I have Shion. She would be a great first turn drop. I have 4 of her. And her purpose is to, like I said, be able to get mana. And then also she has a secondary ability that will soften punches that come into my face. Another important thing is you have to constantly be able to draw. So I have 2 cards that focus on that. 4C, it's a mage art, and I love it because with the Lover's Lock, you're able to get your mana in cheap. And then my secondary one, he serves 2 purposes, or she, I guess. Percival, and what she does is look at the top 5 cards, reveal a Regalia or chant from them, put it in your hand, put the rest at the bottom of your library in any order, then you can banish it for 4C1. I would most likely use her as a chump blocker for early game stall. Next, the important part of a control deck is to be able to manipulate and control what your opponent's doing. So we have 4 copies of Look of Corruption. This is a great first turn card, because then you can start to mold your opponent's hand early in the game. Look at your opponent's hand, choose a card with cost 4 or less, they discard that card. I can also pay 2 more to awaken to get rid of a bigger card if I need to, but most likely it's going to be those. Now, an important focus I have is controlling the field, my opponent's field. And this card is one of the ones that I have for that, because I can literally just choose a number and then they have to banish a resonator with the cost. It's a great ability to get rid of untargetable things. So, and I have 4 of those. Plus, then I can turn around and use her as either a blocker or a beater if I'm getting the advantage on the board. Next, we have this card right here, Bewildering Charm. It's a mage arts, which means my Regalia will work on it. It's great because not only do I return a resonator to their hands, but I can also use it to draw a card if I need to. So it's either or. Most likely it's going to be bouncing something, but you never know. Maybe you're digging later. Then I have 4 copies of this card right here. This one's a little easier to read. The Princess of Love takes control. Choose 1, target resonator or Regalia. This is why I have this here. Or Regalia. Black-blue struggles with dealing with Regalia. This card can do it on the bottom of their library, or put 2 target resonators from your graveyard into your hand, or choose a card from your Stranger deck at random. And then I get to recover Regalia. See, it's a mage art, so I can just tap it, my Regalia, and then I can just tap this, I'll untap it. Next, I have 2 copies of Perfect Loki. This is a mid to late game single-sided board wipe, especially with this deck where I'm drawing a lot of cards and discarding a lot of cards, most of those chants. So my library or my graveyard will build up really quickly. This is just an awesome single-sided board wipe for a mere 2 mana that is in my colors, so I had to have it. All right, now we come to the beaters of the deck. This guy and then the king, you'll see him in a bit. I have 4 of this, the pet dragon of Lord of the Seas. I can't see his name there. It's Ephidion or something like that. Then you can see 1,000, but each chant in my graveyard, he gets cheaper. Sorry. So with this guy right here, about 3 mana, and I'm putting out a 1,000 flying beater. Plus that, his enter ability is destroy all resonators total 1 or less your opponent controls. It's pretty sweet. Just he's the finisher for the deck. Then I have 2 of these because his main ability requires He's not as strong. Enter. What he does is if you control a J ruler, this card in your hand gains quick cast and you can pay for 1 less, so he only costs 2. His enter ability is target resonator or regalia your opponent controls doesn't recover. So it's a pretty sweet way to tie down your stuff. Plus then if I have El Chiffon, the dragon I showed you, he gains flying and barrier. So that's the beater. Here's Valentina. It was buried in there. Her abilities work very well with what I'm doing. The Stranger 10 deck, which we'll go over. Her Judgment, which I'm likely not to pay. Most likely I'll drop down a Regalia to do it. Whenever a water Regalia enters the field under your control, choose 1. If it's the Lover's Lock, I get to choose 2, which is all I have in there. Choose a card from your Stranger deck at random, put it in your hand, or return target Resonator's owner's hand, or target Resonator gives him 0 till an attack becomes 0 till an or I can pay 0 for Judgment. My 2 favorite choices are bounce one of their Resonators and get a Stranger deck, because I'm constantly wanting to draw and refill the hand. And then her flip side, this is one of the things I really love with her, and this is why one of the reasons why you would probably put her out pretty early. All of my opponent's Resonators get minus 400, plus I get to take the top card of my Magic Stone deck, put it right in the field rested, and then she has a God's Art ability that you can use once per game. I can remove any Resonator from the field, from the game, and then I search their deck, their graveyard, and their hand for all cards that share a name of that Resonator, remove them from the game, then shuffle their deck. Then finally I get to draw a card from my Stranger deck. So not only can I gully any one strategy where our central focus is this creature, then I can also wreck their whole strategy, and then I get to draw a card. So she's very strong for control. All right, so that's the deck, that's the ruler. Let me go over the Stranger deck. Now, I designed this keeping in mind the idea of control. So this one right here, for me, the Banish the Resonator, it sucks if they have a bunch of chump blockers, but it's great for guys that are hard to kill. This one does it twice, when he comes into play and then when he goes to the graveyard. So, and plus he Bane, so if he blocks, he just kills things. So I have 2 of those. Next, I have Undane the Spirit Stranger card. Flying, quick cast, 1 blue, 1 colorless. Enter, return up to 3 target non-J Resonator, non-stone magic entities to the owner's hand. She's another way for me to temporarily stall or block out Regalia additions, that sort of thing. So she's great. I really like her. Next, I have 2 of Loki, the Ancient Demon Lord. Pays 1 less this card for each Resonator on the field, and he's just an outright board wipe. So if I'm really hurting, boom, put him down. And he'd be pretty cheap, only 3 black if your opponent has a huge field. He can save your butt, basically. Then I just love this card. It costs nothing except a slot in your Stranger deck, and then you gain 1,000 life and you draw a card by banishing this guy. I mean, I don't have the machine ability, but it's just an amazing card. I mean, 1,000 life swing. I gain 1,000 life and draw a card, so I have 2 of those. The draw card is really great because he replaces himself. And then lastly, I have Freya, the Goddess of Full Moon. Destroy target Resonator with a total 3 or less. You gain life equal to its defense. I have 2 of those. Like I said, the point of my Stranger deck is mostly about control with a little bit of draw. And then for the Stone deck, I have... insert those ones. My bad, I guess. The majority of the deck is blue, so I have 2 blue. I have 4 of the Magic Stone of Dark Depths because it's black-blue. And then, of course, I have 4 of Adoratika's Memoria because this card is amazing. Produce 1 will of any attribute shared with your J ruler. Any multicolor J ruler should have multiple copies of this in their deck, depending on their color selection. All right, and lastly is my sideboard. The sideboard is designed to be flexible and adjustable based on what my opponent's doing. So if I have an opponent who has a lot of creatures and it's overwhelming my one of strategy, it's where I would slap this X. I have 1 copy of a Perfect Loki. Now I have this card right here. It's just great because I could really make them discard cards. So the point of this would be if I'm playing a control deck because it's for quick cast. So if I play another Valentina or a counter spell deck, I would put these 3 copies of this in here. Next, I have the the Erudite, the Nitrogen Blade. Cancel target automatic ability of a Resonator. If the card was awakened, destroy that Resonator. This great card. I have 4 copies of it. This is if you're dealing with a opponent who's using a lot of crazy resonator abilities, then I could really jack them over with that. Next, dark indication. Your opponent reveals a hand. Choose either chant or addition. So like if I'm going up against an opponent who has a lot of control or using additions, which I normally would struggle with, I would put these in there to increase my chances. I have 4 of those. And then lastly, I have 3 copies of Athena's Love. This one right here is basically for a way to get rid of opponents who have really tough creatures to deal with. So you would just choose Corrupt, and then they'd have to banish. So just a little bit more insurance. So the point is you would flex your deck in and out depending on what your opponent is using. All right, so there you go. That is my Valentina Princess of Love deck. This is the newest version. There's several versions of Valentina. I really like this one. Her just named Valentina is her name. So there you go. This concludes my video. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, share if you can. Peace out.